I found this screwdriver or drill among the things I no longer use and decided to turn it into an electric vehicle. If you're interested, stay until the end and like the video to boost its visibility. I found this mountain board lying among my things from a long time ago, and I automatically thought of the drill that I had also found, which was my first drill, and I haven't used it in years. The batteries were completely rotten and non-functional. But, well, it occurred to me to put it on and see what I could do if it could work, or maybe make a new electric vehicle or something cooler. And, well, I got to work on that, let's say. First, I took off the wheel. This only had one nut, so it was really super easy. And then I started to see how could I adapt a crown, which is a motorcycle crown, 110 if I remember correctly, step 428. To my surprise, I presented the crown and the 4 screws that the wheel had were perfectly aligned with the 4 holes that the crown had. I don't know if it was luck, but I hardly had to adapt anything. I just removed the screws that the wheel had, which are actually 2 plastic pieces that hold the camera and the cover. It's a somewhat strange wheel, but, well, it's very easy to disassemble. Everything on this mount seems to be quite easy, honestly. And then, since there were no such large screws, I decided to buy a threaded rod. I cut it and made my own long screws, let's say. I put a couple of nuts on the ends to simulate that they are the head of the screw. And then I ran it through the wheel again, assembling it just as it was before. First, I put the original nuts on so that the wheel is well sealed, obviously. And then I started to put in the crown, let's say the crown. It went in smoothly with just a few taps, nothing extraordinary. It went in immediately. At that moment, I realized I was missing nuts, so it didn't matter. I placed 2 items on each side and it worked out fine in the end. This situation isn't going to be subjected to extreme forces, so it's pretty good. As you can see, I put the stop nuts on, 2 on one side and 2 of the other type in a cross pattern. And the wheel turned out great. I mean, it doesn't move at all. I made sure it wasn't weak, and no, it actually turns out to be very strong. I put the wheel back on the mountain board and made sure nothing was touching anything, that everything was fine. To my surprise, well, the crown had a hole in the middle, which is where the axle goes through, and it almost touches the brake supports of the mountain board. So I was lucky and it didn't touch. For the pinion, I used a 10-tooth pinion from a reduction machine. The crown, if I remember correctly, had 30 teeth. And I got this screw that fits just right inside the pinion. In other words, perfect for making a shaft, let's say a pinion shaft. I just gave it a few welding spots so that it obviously doesn't move. And I cut the screws so it doesn't stick out too much from the drill. Obviously, the screw part I'm going to put in adjusted with the same pressure of the drill. Because it didn't make sense to break the drill to weld the pinion on it, since the drill can continue to function as a drill. That's the least of it. And, well, the drill batteries obviously didn't work. If you're buying a drill with a carbon battery in 2020, don't. Go for lithium batteries or nothing, otherwise you're wasting money. Once I disassembled the drill, I found it had the same type of motor I wanted to buy. Precisely the motor I was talking about at the beginning of the video. It must be an 895 motor. It's a motor with brushes. It's not very good, to say the least, but, well, it doesn't matter. The charm of these drills is that they have a large reduction box. That is, the motor spins at many revolutions and reduces the motor speed so much that it ends up having a lot of force, a lot of torque. We are going to take advantage of that to make our electric vehicle. The bad thing about this is that obviously it spins slowly and the vehicle is going to go slow, but, well, it's something we already know from the beginning. I decided to test it with a voltage adapter to see if it was still working. And yes, it was still working. I tested all the functions and everything was still normal. So the problem with this drill was that simply the battery was completely dead. Even though I charged it, it didn't start at all, but, well, I had to use an external battery and a voltage adapter. By the way, don't forget to follow me on my Instagram. I'm always posting things about what I'm doing at the moment, like all advanced materials, so go follow me. Then I pulled the trigger, since I didn't want to leave it there, otherwise I wouldn't be able to use it. and I put it on the monk drum control, let's say where I have the brake. I wanted to tuck the cable into the fabric, but it didn't fit, so I had to put it on the outside. It didn't look very aesthetic, but it doesn't matter. And the other end, obviously to the drill, I tested once more that everything works. Everything was working perfectly, so I put it back together. If you're going to adapt a battery to a drill, make sure it's the same voltage. I used a 36-volt battery, which obviously is not the same voltage, but for that, I used the voltage reducer that I told you about. At first, he forgot to reduce the voltage from the battery's 36 volts to the 15 volts used by the drill. Then I grabbed the drill to the mount, making 2 holes and passing a threaded rod. These, bent and with nuts on the other sides, truth be told, it was very strong, and it doesn't come out, not even by force. I tested it a little to see how it worked, and for now it seemed fine. I mean, I got on it, and the truth is that it worked. It had the strength to carry me. It worked, and in the end, I put the battery in the middle. I was going to put it in the back, but it was kind of in the way, and there was room in the middle, so I sent it to the middle, and it was time to test it. For that, I went to a park that I have near my house. I made, well, some last-minute adjustments, as always tends to happen, and I tested it by testing it. Well, what I was already expecting was the speed. Honestly, it was very slow. Remember, this rotates between 400 and 1,000 revolutions as per the page. When forced, it will rotate at fewer revolutions, but, well, don't expect an astronomical speed. I think this would be very good and would go very well for a boy, for your children, or something like that. But, well, for a weight of a person like me, a big person, it's not so recommended, although, well, it still works. I then tested by raising the voltage from 15 to 22 volts. Although obviously this is sacrificing the lifespan of our drill, I raised it to 22 volts, although obviously this is sacrificing the lifespan of our drill. I mean, if they raise the voltage on you, obviously it's going to go faster, but they're going to demand more from you, and it might last less time. But, well, honestly, I didn't notice it overheating at all, so I went ahead with it. At this moment, I ran into a channel subscriber. If you're watching, I'm sending you a huge hug, as this rarely happens to me. With my modification, I made it go faster, but I don't recommend it because it won't go fast on its own. Keep in mind that if you do this, it's going to be to go slow and you're going to go slow. If you enjoyed the video, remember to leave a comment, like it, and see you next time.